Good evening, everyone. Hello. Yes, let's get to amped in here. You're about to see the next president of the United States. That's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. So we've got an amazing show for you tonight. We've got a great set of speakers. Of course, Andrew. I'm also going to ask you to shut or silence your cell phone. You don't want that ringing during the event. Thank you. What an amazing turnout. Let's give a round of applause for Storm Lake. This is huge. This is amazing. So it really is my honor to introduce to you one of our best field organizers here in Iowa from Sioux City to talk about the importance of volunteering and canvassing and phone banking and what that is going to mean to our win here in Iowa on February 3rd. Introducing Kevin. Thanks, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, so my name is Kevin Munoz. I'm from Sioux City, Iowa, born and raised. I went to school I was from Sioux City, Iowa, born and raised.
Yeah.
It's our thing we do in Sioux City. The clap and the, you guys know. So yeah, I went to school at Iowa State University. I graduated in biology. I went to Portugal for a master's, and I just got back, back in November for this campaign from Italy, where I paused my PhD program because in the middle of the summer, when I picked up Andrew's book on Amazon, I knew that I had to do what I could to get elected because I'm from Sioux City. Many of you have traveled to Sioux City. You know that Sioux City is a city of labor workers that, well, the new economy is going to affect pretty greatly. And it's not just going to be Sioux City, but all of Iowa and the Midwest. So I came back for that. I know some of you will felt what I felt, and will use that to help us, to knock on some doors, to make some calls. Maybe when it's minus 30 with the wind blowing, we'll make some calls. But actually on those days, people are very nice. They invite you in, they warm you up. I got hot chocolate once, and tissues because my nose wouldn't stop. But yeah, so please, if you do find that feeling, use it. And let any of the organizers here in Storm Lake know, anywhere else in Iowa where you may be, in Sioux City with me. And that was very nice. It rhymed very well. It was very impressive. Anyway. Everybody got one of these cards, right, when they came in? Perfect. So I want every single one of them back, but after the event. So if you can just please fill it out, circle your choices, and give it back before you head out. So now I'll introduce the Buena Vista County Chair, Jim Elysia. Eliason, sorry. It's a hard name. Come on. Thank you very much. That's all right, Mary.
When I was in high school, they called me Elysian, and when I told the story, well, it's because you look like one. I do have the perfect face for radio, though. As Kevin said, I'm the chairperson of the County Democrats here, and welcome to Buena Vista University. Thanks for coming out on this dark and icy night. Our special guest tonight is an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. He founded Venture for America, which has trained many people, largely minorities, to start successful businesses. One of the founding principles of Venture for America is, quote, creation of value is how I measure achievement, not creation of money. Asian man who likes math. You see a lot of math hats around. That stands for Make America Think Harder, which is similar to my hat, which says Make America Think Again. You can tell this has been a well-worn hat. I like math too. I took 2 years of math in college after calculus. And the first line of my shirt here in Math Gobbledygook says, I ate some pie, and it was delicious. For those of you who have not heard Andrew Young before, you're in for a treat. A lot of unique perspectives in his bid to replace He Who Must Not Be Named. Let's have a storm like welcome for presidential candidate Andrew Yang.
Welcome to Professor Yang's class. You all get, everyone gets an A. Thank you all for being here. I just want to give a shout out to Max, one of our awesome leaders and volunteers here. And some of the people that did incredible work here in Storm Lake. Man, it's a little warm in here. I'm going to have to make this punchy. I love campaigning here in Iowa because you all are among the most influential people in our country today. Doesn't feel like it, I know, you're just living your lives, decided to check out the presidential candidate who came to town. Maybe you came because of the TV ads. Raise your hand if you've seen a TV ad. Good, because you spent a lot of money on those ads. Very sad if you hadn't seen them. But I've done the math. Do you know how many Californians each Iowan caucus goer is worth? 1,000. That's right, 1,000 Californians each. So how many of us are here tonight together? I'm going to give a Trumpian estimate. There are 800 people in this classroom. I counted 1,000. At least 1,000. This is legitimately a really big group. I'm going to say maybe 120, something along those lines. 120 Iowans is like 3 football stadiums full of Californians. That's the power that you all have. That's why I'm pumped to campaign here every single moment. Because you all can do something the rest of our country only dreams about, which is take us in a different direction, a needed direction. Because we know that things have not been heading in the right direction for quite some time. Oh, I'm not a career politician, I'm an entrepreneur and problem solver, and I'm running in large part to address a challenge that our country has been grappling with that we haven't fully understood. And that challenge can best be summarized in this question. Why is Donald Trump our president today? And where were those jobs located? Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and 40,000 right here in Iowa. I have been to those towns that lost their manufacturing jobs in Iowa, so have you. And after the manufacturing jobs dried up, the shopping district closed, people left, the school shrank, and that town has never recovered. I have seen this exact same thing play out in towns in Missouri, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, because I spent the last 7 years helping create thousands of jobs in those states. And I was getting accolades and awards for helping to create these jobs. I was honored by the Obama administration multiple times, so I got to bring my wife Evelyn to meet the president. My in-laws were very excited about me that week. But unfortunately, I had this sinking feeling that my work was like pouring water into a bathtub that had a giant hole ripped in the bottom. That things were rushing out, and the water level was going down in many, many places. I just want to give a shout out to my lovely wife Evelyn, who's joining us here tonight. Someone thanks me for running for president, and I say thank my wife. Because one, she let me run, and two, she's been sacrificing much more than anyone else in our family. Thank you so much, baby. I love you. So I was working in these environments and feeling this sense of loss, where I was going around and saying, wow, this is not working for many places. Donald Trump wins. And then I go through the numbers, I find that we eliminated these 4 million manufacturing jobs, and what we did to those jobs is now shifting to other parts of our economy. How many of you have noticed stores closing around where you live here in Storm Lake in this part of Iowa? And why are those stores closing? Amazon, that's right. 12 years ago, you might have said Walmart. Walmart was like a tank that came to Iowa and just started running over mom and pop retail shops. But now you would say Amazon, which is more like a spaceship that hovers over the whole thing, sucking up $20 billion a year in commerce, closing 30% of your stores and malls. I was just at a mall yesterday where the JCPenney closed. And you know those malls can go from cheery to spooky pretty quick when the stores start to close. The most common job in our economy is retail clerk. The average retail clerk is a 39-year-old woman making between $8 and $12 an hour. When her store closes, what is her next job going to be? We're not sure. Just said waitress. I mean, it's as good a guess as any. How much did Amazon pay in taxes last year? Zero. That is the math, Storm Lake. 20 billion out, 30% of your stores closed, you get zero back. You can see these changes in your economy, not just for the closing Main Street stores, but also the self-serve kiosks and the McDonald's. And when you call the customer service line of the big company, and you get the bot or software on the other end, you probably do the same thing I do right now, which is you dial 000, say human, representative, human, representative, until you get someone on the line. Raise your hand if that's what you do. Oh yeah, we all do that. We're all thinking, I know a person still works at this company somewhere, and I'm going to find them. But in 2 or 3 short years, the software is going to sound like this. Hello, Andrew, how are you? What can I do for you? It'll be fast, seamless, efficient. What will that mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work at call centers right now making $10 to $14 an hour? How many of you all know a truck driver here in Iowa? It'd be surprising if you didn't, because it's the most common job in 29 states. There are 3.5 million truckers in this country. 94% men, average age 49. My friends in California are working on trucks that can drive themselves. They say they're 98% of the way there. A robot truck just transported 20 tons of butter from California to Pennsylvania 4 weeks ago with no human intervention. Why did they choose butter for this maiden voyage? I have no idea. But if you Google robot butter truck, you will see the story. And at the end of the route was a giant stack of pancakes, as far as the eye can see. I'm making up the pancakes, but everything else is real. What will the self-driving trucks mean for the 3.5 million truckers, or the 7 million plus Americans who work in truck stops, motels, and diners that rely upon the truckers getting out every day and having a meal? How many of you have been to Iowa 80 and Davenport? Me too. It's got a meat buffet. They say that 5,000 people stop there every day. How many people will stop there when the trucks no longer have drivers? Storm Lake, we are in the midst of the greatest economic transformation in the history of our country, what experts are calling the fourth industrial revolution. When is the last time you heard a politician say the words fourth industrial revolution? 3 seconds ago. And I'm barely a politician. Evelyn can vouch for the fact that I never intended to run for office. If she thought I was going to run for president when we were dating, she would have run the other direction. And trust me when I say that the Yang household was not saying, oh, you're going to be president someday. They were saying, you're terrible, go clean your room. I'm an entrepreneur who's been working on trying to create jobs over the last number of years, and I realized that our country was going through this epic transformation that's about to speed up. Because technology is getting stronger, faster, smarter, and we are not. We are human beings. We're just trying to stay just about the same, honestly. Unless you're one of our kids who are like 4 and 7 and then they're learning, but the rest of us are trying to stay around where we are right now. We're scapegoating immigrants for problems immigrants have next to nothing to do with. When you go to a factory in Michigan, you do not find wall-to-wall immigrants doing work. What do you find? Wall-to-wall robot arms and machines. That's responsible for the vast, vast majority of the job loss we're seeing. And my first move was still not to run for president of the United States. I went to our leaders in Washington, D.C. in 2017. So 2016, Trump wins. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not business as usual. Let's figure out what happened. Okay, go through the numbers. There's a direct line up between the adoption of industrial automation in a voting district and the movement towards Trump in that district. Strongest correlation anyone can find. Okay, for whatever reason, we're not understanding this. Our media is making a hash of it. I'm not quite sure why. So I go to our leaders in DC and I say, what are we going to do to help our people manage this historic economic transformation? And what do you think the folks in DC said to me when I said, what are we going to do? Now, at another event, someone made that Scooby-Doo noise, like, ooh, oh. The 3 responses I got in DC were these. Number 1, we cannot talk about this. Number 2, we should study this. And number 3 will be familiar. We must educate and retrain all Americans for the jobs of the future. How many of you have heard a politician say that? Yeah, that's kind of familiar, right? And it sounds sort of responsible, but I'm the numbers guy. I looked at the studies. Do you all want to guess how effective the government-funded retraining programs were for the manufacturing workers that lost their jobs in the Midwest? 2%. He guessed 2%. You know it's low because I'm anchoring you low. But you also know it's low because you know human beings. You know if you have hundreds of manufacturing workers who lose their jobs, they don't all walk out and say, I'm here for my coding program. I'll be coding in no time. Like, that's not reality. The success rates of these programs were between 0 and 15%. They're a total dud. Almost half of the manufacturing workers in the Midwest who lost their jobs left the workforce and never worked again. Of that group, almost half filed for disability. You then saw surges in suicides and drug overdoses in these communities to the point where America's life expectancy has now declined for the last 3 years in a row. You know the last time America's life expectancy declined 3 years in a row? Great Depression's a good guess. World War's a good guess. You have to go a little further back. The Spanish flu of 1918, that's right. A global pandemic that killed millions. You have to go back 100 years because it's highly unusual for life expectancy in a developed country like the United States of America to go down. It ordinarily just goes up because we're getting richer, stronger, healthier. But not now. Not now. 21st century, it's gone down and then down and then down again. So when I said this to the folks in DC, one of them said, Andrew, let me help you. You're in the wrong town. No one here is going to do anything about this because fundamentally this is a town of followers, not leaders. And the only way we would do something about it is if you were to create a wave in other parts of the country and bring that wave crashing down on our heads. And I said, challenge accepted. I'll be back in 2 years. So sort of like, you are the Trump said he wanted to drain the swamp. Storm Lake, I want to do something a little bit similar. I want to distribute the swamp. What do I mean by that? Why do we employ hundreds of thousands of workers in the most expensive city in the country? Why wouldn't we move some of those jobs to Michigan, Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin. We would save billions of dollars right off the bat. And I would argue that those agencies would make better decisions because they were living someplace normal and not in a DC bubble where they just talk to each other. I'm for term limits for members of Congress.
Yes!
Our representatives should be heading to DC to do our work and then come home. Their goal should not be to go there and then say, I like it here, let me stay as long as possible, let me stay forever, I'm gonna make a career out of this thing. I know how we can pass term limits too. I will be your president a year from now, thank you for that. And then I will go to our Congress and say, hey, we should have 12-year term limits. You should be out of here after 12 years. But current lawmakers are exempt. Do you think they'll pass that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they'll pass that the next day. They'll say, we do this for the American people. Because their grandfather did. They'll say, I'm exempt from this. I can be like the super legislator that just hangs out here forever. But then they'll lose and get phased out too. And then you'll have a Congress that's actually rotating, is more dynamic, and have legislators that are responding to us. So here are a couple of the ways we can actually get DC working for us again, instead of the almighty dollar that's at this point running roughshod on our communities and our way of life. Here in Iowa, you all are in many ways ground zero for the changes that we're discussing. You saw it go through your farms, mechanizing and consolidating away thousands and thousands of agricultural jobs. You saw it go to your factories, wiping out 40,000 manufacturing jobs, shutting down all of those communities. Now it's on your main streets, shutting 30% of the stores and malls. You have to stop it before it gets to your highways. This is the only way. We have to rewire the economy so that all the value that's leaving your town is actually coming back, and then it has to come to you and your families. If you're here tonight, you've seen that I want to give every American $1,000 a month. Raise your hand if you've seen that. Keep your hand up if you thought, this is a gimmick, this is too good to be true, this is not possible. Keep your hand up. It's cool. Not worry, there's no embarrassment. I mean, there's probably half of you, or more. I get it. But this is not my idea, and it's not a new idea. Thomas Paine was for this at the founding of our country. He called it the citizen dividend for all Americans. Martin Luther King, whose birthday we celebrated just this week, was fighting for this in the 60s. It is what he was fighting for when he was killed in 1968. And I know this because I sat down with Martin Luther King's son in Atlanta, who said that this is what his father was fighting for. It was so mainstream that 1,000 economists, including Milton Friedman, one of the forefathers of modern economics, endorsed this plan in the 60s, and it passed the US House of Representatives in 1971 twice under Richard Nixon. The Family Assistance Plan would have guaranteed an income level to all American families. And then 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that?
Alaska.
And how does Alaska pay for it?
Oil.
And what is the oil of the 21st century?
Technology.
Data, technology, AI, self-driving cars and trucks. A study just came out that said that our data, your data, is now worth more than oil. Raise your hand if you saw that study. Raise your hand if you got your data check in the mail last month. If your data is now worth billions of dollars a year and you are not seeing a dime of that, then where is all of that money going? Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple, and the trillion-dollar tech companies that are paying zero or next to nothing back into our country. Do you see how this game works? And I'm going to suggest to you all, whose fault is it that Amazon, a trillion-dollar tech company, paid zero in taxes, less than everyone in this room? Is it their fault? No, it's kind of their job to try and pay zero taxes. So whose fault is it? It is our fault. It is our government's fault. Because they've been bought and sold. So this is what we have to change. We have to get that value back, and then we have to put it in your hands in the form of this $1,000 a month dividend. Particularly because when this money's in your hands, where will it go? How much of it would be spent right here in Iowa? Most of it. Not all of it. You might get your own Netflix password. But most of it would go to car repairs you've been putting off, and daycare expenses, and Little League signups, and local nonprofits, and religious organizations. Storm Lake, this is the trickle-up economy, from our people, our families, and our communities up. This would actually give rural communities and our kids a real foundation and a real path forward? Raise your hand if you're a parent like me and Evelyn. If you're a parent, you have had this sinking feeling at some point in the recent past that we are leaving our kids a future that is less secure, less prosperous, and less bright than the lives that we have led. You know why we feel that way? Because it's true. If you were born in the 1940s in the United States of America, there was a 93% chance you were going to be better off than your parents. That's the American dream. That's what brought my family here. That's what we aspire to leave to our kids. But if you were born in the 1990s in this country, you're down to a 50-50 shot, and it is declining fast. That is why the parents in the room feel the way we do. That is why our young people feel like the deck is stacked against them, because it is. They sense that our economy is not creating the opportunities that it used to, and we the history of the world, which is what we're dealing with right now. In the midst of the greatest technological transformation in our country's history. So if you put those two things in context, then putting $1,000 a month into our hands actually seems not just reasonable, but vital. Because this is how we're actually going to rebalance the economy between rural communities and big cities, between folks. It's the Russians. Always trying to mess with my events. This is how we balance the economy to work for us instead of just the megacorps that are having the run of the place. We have record high, and you're getting messages all the time, and there you are, about how great things are. Stock market prices, record high. Corporate profits, record high. GDP, record high. Unemployment, record low. Everything's great, right? And yet you feel somehow, you know that things are not great. And once again, you are right. Corporate profits are at record highs. You know what else are at record highs in the United States of America right now? Debt, financial insecurity, suicide, depression, mental illness, substance abuse, drug overdoses, all at record highs in the United States of America right now. Record lows in the US right now, business formation among young people, getting married, having a kid. All of the things that you associate with a thriving society are now at record lows. But corporate profits are up. If your corporate profits are going up and your life expectancy is going down, which do you listen to? That is where we are as a country right now. You have DC cannot even see life expectancy in people anymore. It's just following the dollars. This is what we have to change in Storm Lake. I'm going to suggest to you all, we need to get someone to the top of government that owes the companies not a damn thing. Someone who just wants to try and rewire the economy so that'll work for you and your kids. And give us the chance to say to our children, your future is going to be bright because your country loves you, your country values you, and your country will invest in you. You can't fake investing in people. There's only a way to do it or not do it. Right now, we're losing to the dollars and the machines because we've been collectively conditioned to think that economic value and human value are the same things. And your job on February 3rd is to say, they're not the same things. We all have intrinsic value as Americans, as citizens, and as shareholders, owners of the richest country in the history of the world. So we have these measurements that are going up and are telling us a story, and we know they're not right. And I know they're not right in part because of my own family. My wife Evelyn is at home with our two boys every day, one of whom is autistic. How much is her work valued at in our economic measurements? Evelyn gets a 0. So does every stay-at-home parent in our country. How about caregivers taking care of ailing loved ones? That's a 0. How about volunteers and activists trying to do something positive in the community? Coaches and mentors looking out for our next generation? 0 most all the time. 97% of artists? 0. You know, one thing we don't talk about a lot, but it's vital. How about local journalists? We have put almost 2,000 newspapers out of business over the last number of months because all of their revenue went up to the cloud. 200 counties in the United States of America don't have a newspaper or any local publication. You know what does not work as well if you don't have local news? Democracy, that's right. Because how can you vote on what's going on in your town if no one's even covering what's going on in your town?
We need those Yang ads.
That's a thinker. Can we regenerate local journalism based upon this guy's ad? You get very tired of it. I feel for you on that level too. You can't turn on your TV without seeing, political ads from me or the other candidates. I apologize for that. It'll be over soon. So we're zeroing out all of these things that we're supposed to value most dearly. Our families, our communities, our democracy, and we're letting them get zeroed out because we have been convinced somehow that we all work for the economy. And I'm here to tell you, Storm Lake, the economy has to work for us. It's not that we work for the machines work for us. This is what we have to do. We have to actually re-exert the fact that this economy functions to make us and our families stronger and healthier, instead of making the mega companies richer. As your president, instead of measuring our economic well-being by how the big companies are doing, I will measure it by how we are doing. Our health and life expectancy, our mental health and freedom from substance abuse, how many of us can retire in quality circumstances, childhood success rates, clean air and clean water. I will make these the measurements of the 21st century economy, and then I will report them to you every year at the State of the Union. I will be the first president to use a PowerPoint deck at the State of the Union. If you like that visual, this is definitely the standards you've held for presidential candidates are not what they should be. I think the standards you have held are we proud of this person? Will we be proud to have them as our president? I want the standard to be, can we improve your way of life and the way of life of your family right here in Iowa? If we can't do that, then we should not be running. That is my goal. That's the standard I want you to hold me to. Donald Trump is our president today because he had a very, very simple and powerful message. He said he wanted to make America great again. What did Hillary Clinton say in response? America's already great. Remember that, Storm Lake? It's been a long 3 years, I know. But it's now coming to an end. That response did not work for many Americans because the problems in our communities are real. We have to acknowledge their reality and depth and severity and stop treating Donald Trump like he's the cause of all of our problems. He's not. He's a symptom of a disease that's been building for years. And our job now is to cure the disease. So Donald Trump's our president in large part because he did the work of acknowledging the problems, but his solutions were the opposite of what we need. What were his solutions? Build a wall, turn the clock back, bring the old jobs back. Storm Lake, we have to do the opposite of these things. We have to turn the clock over. We have to accelerate our economy and society to rise to the real challenges of the 21st century, like climate change. We have to evolve in the way we see ourselves and our work and our value. I'm the ideal candidate for this job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Thank you very much. What does it stand for? Make America think harder. That's right. That is your job on February 3rd. It is your job to move this country we love so much. Not left, not right, but forward. And I know that's just where you're going to take us on February 3rd. Thank you so much, Mike. Let's give people actually think about their kids. Thank not sure if you need one given the size of the room, but if you have a question, just go ahead and raise your hand, and then Conrad will throw the microphone at you.
I heard, not question, but comments. This is the first time I listened to you. And I completely agree with you that Donald Trump is a symptom. However, it has caused a lot of complications. I say that as an immigrant. I'm from China, so I lived in a place. I know what dictatorship is, what no freedom of press is, what take out the political component, or the law only works for rich and powerful. And in the last 3 years, I'm like panic attack every day because I see the democracy being chipped away every day. And I'm just in such a panic state that nobody really has put the priority of restore our democracy as the top one goal. And I kind of want to hear some comments from you.
Well, thank you for the question and comment. I am optimistic that it will be very positive for Americans' mental health to have someone very calm and lucid in the White House instead of someone who's giving you this sense of anxiety. Also, I'm the son of immigrants myself, so I appreciate our democracy a great deal. And there are many things we need to do to strengthen our democracy and return the power genuinely to the people. So I'm just going to list a few of the top ones. Right now, we know the lobbyists and special interests run Washington, D.C. We need to try and overturn Citizens United to get dark money out of politics, but the fact is the companies have run that town since before that ruling, and the companies would find a way back in, even after you have term limits and the rest of it. So what's the solution? Here it is. Right now, fewer than 5% of Americans donate to political candidates or campaigns. It's not really something we do. And the lobbyist cash is much higher than the amount of money that we're putting out. So my proposal is that we give 100 democracy dollars to every voter every year, use or lose it. You don't use it, it disappears. But you can give it to any candidate or campaign that you want. What percentage of Americans do you think would donate to a candidate or a campaign if they had 100 free dollars that they could just give away each year? Now, right now, it's called 5%. What percentage would it be with democracy dollars? So someone said 100, some said 90. I disagree. Americans are pretty lazy. Let's get rid of it. So I think a reasonable goal would be like 50. If you got 50%, that would be grand. But at 50%, we would wash out the current levels of lobbyist cash by a factor of about 4 to 1. Because then if I get 10,000 Americans behind me, that's $1 million. And then if the company comes and says, hey, I've got $70,000 for you, I'd be like, I don't want to take your $70,000 because they're going to get mad, and this is what fuels my, my entire campaign. I can say right now that there's people on one side and money on the other, and we have to unify them. We have to actually put the money in the hands of the people, and then make it so that that's what guides our legislators. So that's one very big pro-democracy move. Try and wash out the lobbyist cash and get the corporate cash out. Number two, we have to make it a lot easier for you to vote. So there should be automatic voter registration when you get a driver's license and some other government document. It should be like, guess what? Now you're registered to vote. We should give you election day off as a holiday so that people actually can make use of their vote and not have to worry about like balancing work that day. So those are a couple of the very big pro-democracy moves I think we need to make. A lot of it is around making our kids feel like citizenship is something really valuable. And so I have a plan on that front too. In addition to the $1,000 a month in a financial literacy class, senior year of high school, I mean, that'd be a game changer. You're like, hey, you have to be an adult. Let's train you up on what the heck you're gonna do with $1,000 a month. You're a citizen now. You have a little ceremony. You can bring them in the woods. No, I'm kidding. But it's gonna be very, very meaningful. But here's another way that we could make citizenship seem really meaningful is their senior spring in high school. We send you to another part of the country to live and work for a month. You get a sense of how other Americans live, come back with some new life experiences, and we know you're not learning anything senior spring right now anyway. This is the American Exchange Program, and you'd essentially be swapping kids with someone else who has a senior in high school that went someplace else in the country. I would love to swap kids for a month. I appreciate my kids, but anyway. So these are ways we can actually imbue our democracy and citizenship with real weight and value. We also need to rebuild local journalism, because again, democracy doesn't work if you don't actually have functioning papers. So there are a lot of pro-democracy proposals we need, but this is the fundamental choice. Because right now we're getting run over by these megacorps, and the only way back is to rebalance it so we have the power of the people actually running the show again. I'm not as concerned as you are somehow, because I believe that we are going to end up moving forward and solving some of these problems that have been festering for years. I'm very optimistic that way. I believe as president I can solve a lot of these problems, in part because Americans can sense that I'm not ideological, I'm just trying to move us forward. A lot of the things we're describing today, and I know this describes some of you in the room, Republicans don't like the fact that Amazon pays 0 in taxes. There are Republicans that are like, yeah, like it's just, like there are these things that are like clearly wrong that no one's excited about. And so, as your president, I believe I'm going to get Democrats, Republicans, Independents alike to come around some of the big solutions we need and move the country forward, in part because I talk to Republicans every single day who say to me, look, what you're saying is what I've been thinking. I didn't think I was ever going to vote for a Democrat, but here we go. And there are people in DC that feel the same way, that are just waiting for Trump to finally get out of there. I know it does not seem like it necessarily, but I've talked to people who are waiting to take a step forward. I guess whoever was going to point out someone with the excellent head of hair.
Do you agree with Marianne Williamson that love is the most important thing in the universe?
I love Marianne Williamson. We just had an event on Friday. Do I agree that love is the most important thing in the universe? Sure. I mean, what else could be the most important thing in the universe? So, like, yes, I do agree that love is the most important thing in the universe. That was a great question.
Over here, Andrew.
Oh, sure thing.
What's your take on getting people in the White House more informed and educated on artificial intelligence and disruptive technologies?
I love this question so much.
All right, I'm going to give you guys like the artificial intelligence primer very, very quick. It'll be a lot of fun. So we're in an arms race with China that we're in danger of losing. They're about to leapfrog us. They're about to leapfrog. Well, first I'm going to tell you a joke. There's this joke. How far behind is China from the US in AI? And then the answer was 12 hours. Because they would wake up and see what we did the previous day. Is that funny? All right. So now, unfortunately, they're not 12 hours behind us. They're in danger of leapfrogging us for 2 reasons. Number 1, they have more access to more data than we do, and data is like food for AI. Number 2, they have nearly unlimited computing infrastructure, like islands of servers as far as the eye can see, Matrix style, spending $20 billion on it. I am friendly with the senior-most technologists in our country, and I've sat with them and they've said, look, Andrew, we'll spend $1 billion, we'll spend $2 billion, we'll spend $3 billion on computing infrastructure, but we can't spend $20 billion like the Chinese. So that's where we are. I'm going to pose this question to you. Path number 1 is, don't worry about it because the US will have another breakthrough. And we'll in our country have actually said to me, Andrew, we need government guardrails on artificial intelligence. Because right now, all of our incentives are to go as fast as possible because we're competing with each other and the Chinese. And if we go fast, 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 eventually we're going to do something that all of us regret. This is the CEO of a major tech company who said this to me. CEOs of major tech companies are generally not in the business of asking for government guardrails. It's not like a normal behavior. So the fact that he did that means that he's serious. We should probably do what he's saying. And the trade is that we actually supply some of the computing infrastructure necessary to stay competitive. So that's artificial intelligence primer, US versus China. Was that interesting? And so the question is, how do we make the White House actually AI conversant? And the easiest way is to make me your president, because I actually know the people who are designing it every day. That's the easy answer. Miss.
And this will be the last question.
Oh no, no. Miss, go ahead.
We currently have a president who embraces dictators as friends, who has alienated our allies, who tweets his foreign policy. I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about your vision for foreign policy.
Thank you, I would love to. I'm going to use recent events as a jumping off point. 75% of Americans want nothing to do with war with Iran. So why were we at the brink of war with Iran? It's because Congress has ceded its authority to declare war and given it to the executive branch for the last 19 years and counting. I am of an opposite point of view where first, I would invest in diplomacy and rebuilding our partnerships and alliances. It was James Mattis that said that if you invest more in diplomats, then you can spend less on ammunition. So that's the approach we should take. Second, I would tear up the AUMF and say, look, our Constitution says it's for Congress to declare war. It should not be for the president to drag the American people into a war that 75% of us do not want. The third thing is to look at our military-industrial complex and how we're spending all of these resources. We spent over $6 trillion in the Middle East, and I have spoken to thousands of military veterans who are suffering after they come home, struggling with health, injuries, PTSD, finding a path forward. So think about that cumulative cost, $6 trillion and tens of thousands of American lives. To what end? We should be spending more of those resources right here at home, making ourselves stronger, more whole, healthier, and actually secure us against the biggest threats of this time, which would include climate change as number one. An extra aircraft carrier does not make us more resilient against floods and changing temperature levels. So that's where I am in terms of our foreign policy. The rest of the world will be so excited to have a president in the White House that wants to invest in our relationships, rebuild our friendships, will not shock them by doing something unilaterally and then saying afterwards, like, hey, I did that thing. Like, I think it was a UK official who said, the purpose of having allies is to help surprise your enemies, not to surprise them. And that just said it all. It's like, what's the use of having friends internationally if you don't actually consult with them before you take a big action, like, say, for example, killing an Iranian general? Like, if that's the kind of thing you do without notifying anyone, then you're taking a very, very incorrect approach. So that's where I am on foreign policy and rebuilding our relationships. We have to listen more to the desires of the American people where our foreign policy is concerned. And the American people I speak to want to put an end to the forever wars and start investing our resources more towards keeping us safe right here at home.
Thank you. Andrew, I'd really like to ask a question if I could. Sure. You're a very impressive fellow. I like a lot of the things you've said. Being president is a big job. Where do you think is your biggest weakness? And more importantly, how would you go about putting your administration together? What types of people would you look for? How would you go about filling all the departments?
Well, I appreciate this question so much. What's your name, sir?
Mike.
Mike. So Mike, my biggest weaknesses are that I'm an outsider to Washington, D.C. And in order to get things done, you cannot have someone who doesn't know who to call, the right relationships, the right experience. So what did Barack Obama do in 2008? First thing he did was appoint Joe Biden as his running mate because Joe had decades of experience in Capitol Hill. That would be the first thing I would be looking to do as well with my running mate and my administration. Because you can't have people all parachuting into DC and saying, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. You need people who know exactly who to call, exactly what levers to pull, and how these agencies can actually enact some of the policies on the board. So that would be my number one priority, is building a team of insiders to balance me out, because I'm kind of outside, you know, it's like I'm gonna joke that like I have enough outsiderness for like a significant part of the administration. So I need to have an administration that has a lot of Washington depth and experience. I will say that my administration will also bring in industry experts from outside of government because I think that perspective is valuable. And my administration would also bring in people from different points of the political spectrum because I think that good ideas come from Americans of every political party. And that if you build an administration that includes more people, then you'll be more likely to actually get some of these policies across the finish line. Great question, guys. I'm just going to end on this thing from Mike, and just because I think it's fun and important. I would never be someone who said I'm going to run government like a business because they're completely different things. Anyone who says they're going to run government like a business is way off base. That said, I think there are certain things you can learn from business for government, and this is the example I'll use. If you were a business that got hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue on a single day, you would probably be very happy about that day. That's tax day. And tax day right now is presented to us as this, frankly, onerous burden as citizens. It's like, we must pay taxes, we all dread it, we're all like, oh no, like April 15th is coming. So here's what I'll do as your president. I will change it to revenue day. I will give you all the day off. It's a national holiday because we're celebrating the fact that we're getting hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue. We will bring families from around the country to celebrate in the White House, another great year of American success. And then we will send you a thank you video from Tom Hanks, Oprah, and Rock, saying thank you, thank you, thank you for fueling our society for another year. And you get to elect where 1% of your taxes go that year to help a part of government that you actually are really excited about. So that could be the U.S. Forest Service, the National Endowment for the Arts, special needs education, whatever you want. And then you get an additional message from that department saying thank you for supporting this work. Would this make you feel a little bit better about tax day? This is just basic customer service. If you have hundreds of millions of customers that you get hundreds of billions of dollars from, you might want to thank them and make them feel a little bit better about it rather than treating them like your servants or vassals. We're not the servants, we are the owners and shareholders, and it's about time our government treated us like that.
Applause for the next President of the United States, Andrew Yang. Thank you for coming, everyone. If you would like a
And can we also get another round of donations for Andrew Yang? Please donate right now through the yanking.com donation link. This is what I'm going to do for this stream. I am not going to announce the top donation number.
Start lining up here.
I'm going to keep it a secret.
Rachel is waving her hands. If you'd like a picture, just a reminder to have your phone out.
I want to make this stream
our
best fundraising stream of the day. And there's only one way that's going to happen. And
line up right here, everyone.
guys, we found a phone. Conrad, found this phone on the ground. Someone must have just dropped it.
That's not my phone.
We are keeping all donation numbers for the stream a secret. I just want to see what we can do. What can we do, stream? How much money can we raise? I also am trying to get a special guest, so I'm going to leave this stream here and go talk to someone.
Instinctively loved and grateful to the people that I think you shared outside. Right in the a lot of yeah, when I went to Europe, there was a lot of oh yeah.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'll probably just.
I actually really like that. I just got done well, I'm like a community organizer.
You get the picture. I need to get out of this crowded area. And we might have a special guest coming on stream. We have to wait and see.
All right, everyone, we have to get them back on the bus, so we're going to do this really quick.
Excuse me.
Photo and go.
Excuse me, sir.
Excuse me to your friend.
Excuse me, sir.
Get out. I will. I got to get my
Thank you, Chris, for your donation to Andrew Yang. Thank you, Kevin, for your donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, Joseph, for your donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, Candle, for your donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, Catherine, for your donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, George, for your donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, Sean, for your donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, Todd, for your donation to Andrew Yang through the Yang Game. TheYanggame.com. Thank you, Mike, for your donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, John, for your donation to AndrewYang.com. And then Tim is going to be getting a shout out from last stream because Tim was the top donor on the last stream and we didn't get his shout out. But don't worry, we're going to get it this
just makes it.
Thank you, Chris, for another donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, Chris, for another donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Thank you, Chris, again for your donation to Andrew Yang through theyangame.com. Alright, so let me explain how this works. Basically, if you go to yanggame.com, it brings up this Secure Act Blue page. And right now, we've raised $143,000 for the campaign from 4,140 donors. And basically, let's read this. Ooh, it's blurry. All donations go directly to Andrew Yang's campaign. Using our link allows us to track donations, but we never touch the money. In fact, the money goes directly to the campaign. Like, it's not like it goes in our bank accounts, it goes straight into the campaign's bank accounts. Donations through our link also count towards Yang 2020 website goals. Welcome to the Yang Game. We are live streaming every single Andrew Yang event during his 17-day Iowa bus tour. To make it worth it for the campaign, we need to raise $200,000 through our referral link. The highest donation during each event gets a shout out on camera from Andrew. And right now, I'm not going to reveal who has donated the most.
To be fair,
Thank you, Chris, for your donation, Andrew Yang, through the yangyang.com. Thank you, Teresa, for your donation, Andrew Yang, through the yangyang.com. Matt, do you think you'll continue to New Hampshire? I have a flight home on February 5th, and then I am most likely going to be at home till at least the 8th. No, here's the thing, Kevin. We promised at least $100K, and $68,000 of that $143,000 came before we started raising money for the campaign. That's a good point, Andrew. That's why I think it's important to like the stream, because liking helps increase the algorithm, and more people will click on the video. Interview the guy who asked the last question. As if I'm supposed to remember what he looks like. Thank you, Teresa, for your donation to Andrew Yang through the Yang Game. I kind of do follow them everywhere. Like when I stayed at the same hotel as them on accident. Or like when I drove by their bus today when it was stopped at a gas station. And I thought I was running late to the event. And I was like, oh sweet, I'm going to beat them. Thank you, Ruby, for your donation. Thank you, Kenneth, for your donation to Andrew Yang through the yanggame.com. So, me and Ted, we're actually both max $5,600 donors. So, we can't donate. We need people like you guys to donate. $1 helps, $2 helps, $3 helps, $4 helps, $5 helps, $6 helps, $7 helps, $8 helps, $9 helps. Let me look at the chat. Okay, chat. What would you guys want? You guys said interview gray shirt guy, and there's like 10 people in the room wearing a gray shirt.
Ethan, bus ready?
The Grammy Awards are going on. Gray shirt, beard.
Yeah, press T up. I can.
I don't see a gray shirt nor a beard.
I can give like one or two questions. We gotta go now. Maybe walk about.
Oh shoot, how many more do we have?
Zareen, can you grab this?
Yeah, so basically we might have a special guest on the stream before it ends. I just have to wait to hear back from.
There we go.
Thank you, Marty, for donating to the stream. What is a Bernie bro look? I don't even know what that means. Interview the guy who asked the last question? Fine. Question for you, sir. Was it you who asked the last question to Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. I run this live stream here, and they really liked your question. They thought it was thought-provoking.
Oh.
And they want me to interview you. There's this chat here.
Oh.
So they asked me to go up to and interview you. So it's totally up to you whether you want to or not.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Let me.
Are you with the campaign?
I am not, but I follow them around every place they go.
I see. So who are you with?
It's called the Zach and Matt Show. We're on YouTube.
All right.
And you're actually live right now on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and this thing called Mixer that I don't even know what it is, but we're on it.
Okay.
All right, so how did you first hear about Andrew Yang?
Had dinner today with my boys, my family, and asked them all who they were supporting. One son is supporting Pete Buttigieg, and the other boy is supporting Andrew. And I followed them all, and he was close, so I wanted to come see him. I mean, I've heard about him for all along and watched him on TV and read his ads and things, but we've got a unique opportunity here in Iowa to be able to see all these candidates up front.
Absolutely.
And, so I just took the advantage to come over and see him tonight.
And before hearing him speak, where would you have ranked Andrew among the list of candidates you were considering?
In the middle of the pack. We're really fortunate. I think we've got a lot of really good candidates this year, really good. And I'm having a hell of a time deciding who to support. I just am, but anyway, he definitely rose in my opinion.
What is something you think Andrew could add to or work on to improve his message so that voters like you would be more likely to support him?
I thought he gave a great answer. I really did. I mean, you hear every candidate, and they run through the litany of what they're going to do in every area of government. Well, it's not that easy, and you've got to put good people in around you. And you know, he says his outsiderness is a weakness. It's also a strength. But knowing he needs some insiders to help fill out his team is about the best and most honest answer I think he could give. So that impressed me.
And who among besides Andrew, who would you say is like in maybe your top 2 or 3? Or is it just tough to decide because there's so many candidates?
It's tough to decide. I like a lot. I like Bernie. I was a precinct captain for Bernie last year. If he was 20 years younger, I'd be all about it. I know he's not going to be able to accomplish all the things he wants to accomplish, but he's got the pulse of young people. He says we need a revolution, and I think he's right. We need to get the entrenched Republicans and the entrenched Democrats out of power. They ruin things. In fact, I think it was the establishment Democrats that pushed Hillary into the nomination. She was the only one Trump could beat.
The DNC definitely was manipulating the process last time
Bernie
around.
and Andrew are tapping into voters that don't traditionally vote, and that's important. That's really important.
Yeah, bring more people into the democratic process.
We've got to do new things, and he's just a very bright, very smart guy. So, actually, I'd like to go talk to him. Can you pause this for a second?
Yeah, no, just go up and say hi. We'll end it there. Thank you so much. Yanged. Okay. I think there's going to be a small little press pool, so we'll see.
Hey Matt, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Shrieking Eels. What, Shrieking Eels on Twitch?
Oh, for real? Hey, nice to meet you.
Not bad.
Guys, it's Shrieking Eels from Twitch. So, This probably isn't what you imagine, but in 15 seconds or less, can you tell us why it's so important to donate to Andrew Yang? But if it takes more than 15 seconds, that's fine. It just has to be a really good pitch.
It's super important because that helps fund everything we're doing out here in Iowa to get everybody to Caucus.
I see you got the precinct captain hat on?
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah, dude. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man.
The stream's not falling for my fundraising tactics anymore, and I'm pretty disappointed about it.
Spam them more.
Yeah. Thank you, Yana. Thank you, Yana, for your donation. Thank you, Zhang, for your donation. Thank you, Carol, for your donation. Thank you, Ruby, for your donation. Thank you, Kenneth, for your donation. And thank you, Teresa, for your donation. Oh, I gotta bother Andrew. Get a shout out.
Thanks.
Oh, what is this? Kirk Spock 20?
That's right.
With a Yang? Is that are you Kirk Spock? You are Kirk Spock. I like it.
You don't know who Kirk Spock is?
No. But just based off the shirt, since it has a Yang button, if Yang doesn't get the nomination, I'll vote for Kirk Spock. So I gotta stalk this guy.
Let's get all the signs off
Yep.
the walls.
Job.
Leave this place nicer than we found it.
Andrew, can I get a quick shout out for Tim, who donated $203?
Hey Tim, thanks so much for the donation. You're here in Storm Lake, making it happen for us. Thank you, Tim. Thank you. I got it.
Okay. Our special guest might come back for tomorrow. Hey, Crystal, question for you.
Yeah.
Would you be able to answer a few questions and tell the YouTube stream, first of all, why it's so important to donate to Andrew Yang's presidential campaign?
I believe it's very important to donate to Andrew's campaign because that's how campaigns work. You can't have a campaign without money, and it's important for us to donate because it's not taking money from lobbyists or corporations or any of that stuff. So it's very important, even if it's $1, $5, whenever you can. I donate whenever I can because I just believe in Andrew's message. And I don't think there will ever be a candidate in my lifetime that I'll be more passionate about or excited about. I'm from Minnesota and I travel to Iowa every chance I get, back and forth. You see me here a lot. I'm not staying here, so I travel back and forth just to make sure that people know that Yang has support behind him from all over the United States and the world.
That would not have looked
So I think it's
good.
important.
Awesome. I agree with everything you said. And then another question. Since you have spent so much time in Iowa, what do you think, compared to what the polls say, what do you think Andrew's support is here on the ground? Like, what are you expecting on Caucus Day?
I'm expecting shock and awe, honestly. When we go canvass, or come to any of these events, you just see people shaking their head, yes, agreeing with everything he's saying, and the look in their eyes when it just like the light bulb goes off. You can see it in their eyes. They're just like, yes, that makes sense, and yes, I agree with you, and yes, you have the solutions that I've been waiting to hear about. And then canvassing, definitely when you go to people's doors, a lot of people are undecided and they don't know much about any of the candidates except for like the commercials that they watch. So even just letting them know, maybe they know about the $1,000, but they don't know that it's paid for by a VAT tax, Moxie dollars, just the simple little things that every Yang gang knows. This is why everybody can canvass, because they don't need a ton of information. They don't need you to be an expert. All they need is the basic information that you already know if you watch Yang's videos. So I expect shock and awe, and I think it's gonna go way better than anybody expects.
That was another great answer. And then since I know you just said you got to drive back to Minnesota, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
I'm staying here tonight. But
you're staying here tonight.
I will stay
perfect.
Like one
so we have another
night,
30-minute interview.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
But I am staying here tonight and going back tomorrow to work, and then I'll either come back here or go to Mason City or Northwood Tuesday and Wednesday that I'm off. So I basically like make sure I get to my shifts, but come down as soon as I can. So, and I have a great boyfriend that takes care of my dog and is patient with me and considerate to let me be able to do this, because a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that if not for that. So.
Yeah, it's important to have a good support system. Like for me, when I started doing all this, I had this business I was running, and my older brother has like taken it over for me.
Okay.
So basically, that was my full-time job, and now basically, being a Yang's in-person stalker is my full-time job.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
One other question for you. If there might be like a few people who are on the fence about like, should I come to Iowa? I can only make it out for a day. I can only make it out for 4 hours. I want to come, but I'm not sure. If they're sitting on the fence, considering whether they should come in these last 8 or so days before the caucus, what would you say to them? Like, what's your opinion?
I mean, absolutely. There's Humanity Forward, who's getting had me a rental car, got me a place to stay tonight. I drove about 4 hours to get here. I've been here since 1:30, and then going back tomorrow is another 4 hours. Like that passion and that like excitement just like gets enlightened once you meet him. And for me, meeting him so many times, like, and now Evelyn, like, they kind of know who I am. It's just nice to have be able to have a personal conversation, while they're taking pictures with people and stuff like that. So I just encourage everybody to get to Iowa, be able to meet Andrew and Evelyn, and I hope to see you in Iowa too. Come meet me.
I'm at that point.
Awesome. And then last thing, you want to give your Twitter a shout out so everyone can follow you?
Yeah, my Twitter is CRYSTALFLEI10.
One more time, just so they make sure they got it.
CRYSTALFLEI10.
Okay. Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, dude.
And thanks for the interview.
Absolutely.
Safe travels.
You too, dear.
Yeah, that was.
Hello.
That was really cool.
All right, stream.
Yeah, that's ours.
Thank you, Ruby, for the $5 donation. Well, this new marketing strategy that I tried for this stream didn't work, so we'll be back tomorrow. Try something new. Wait. So tomorrow the first event's at 10 a.m. Central. Good night.